Here spring was already busy about them. Fronds pierced moss and mold, larches were green-fingered, small flowers were opening in the turf, birds were singing. Ithilien, the garden of Gondor, now desolate, kept still a disheveled dryad loveliness. Welcome to the Wayward Wizards podcast. Today we're reading Book 4, Chapter 4 of Herbs and Stewed Rabbit. My name is Logan.
And my name is Zach.
Hi, Zach.
What's up, you old ninny hammer?
What do you like with your herbs and stewed rabbit? Do you like any sides?
Oh, definitely some Gaffer's Delight, ballast for an empty belly, potatoes, boil them, mash them, stick them in a stew.
That's right. That's the correct answer. It's the only answer, really.
Did you catch yourself thinking that this soup must have not been very tasty?
Yeah, well, I mean, that's what Sam says. He's like, look, this is not that great. But Sam was always running himself down, so maybe it's delicious, you know?
So he has salt for it, and he has some herbs.
It's probably okay. The fact that he has salt means that it's probably fine, you know?
But it is true, though. Like, have you ever tried to have, like, a stew made just from boiled water? I mean, as opposed to some stock, it's not going to be very good.
Yeah, that would be great, and he doesn't have, like, he can't, like, make a roux, you know, he can't, like,
thicken it up
at all.
Yeah.
But all they've been eating is lembas, and so a bite of rabbit would be really nice, probably.
I caught myself wondering if they should have just like skewered them and roasted them as opposed to boiling them in water.
Yeah, that's so English, though.
Such an English way. Just boil it. Yeah, exactly. It's kind of like, did you ever have a friend growing up whose mom would make hot dogs by boiling them?
Yeah, I never understood that. It doesn't make any sense at all.
If I was about to make me a brace of conies, nice, young, tender, I would probably be barbecuing those suckers as opposed to boiling them in water.
Yeah.
But maybe this was the safest route.
I don't know. I think it's just English nonsense.
Boiling some meat. Apologies to any English listeners that we have.
All the flavor leaches out into the I don't know.
Water.
I guess if they're eating it as a stew, though, then maybe the water took on some of the flavor, you know?
Yeah, they just don't have any vegetables in there.
Yeah, just a few herbs.
Yeah.
No onions. I mean, an onion is like the basis of...
Gotta have it.
About basically every meal that's worth eating, in my opinion.
Well, hopefully we haven't grossed everybody out by making them think of eating conies out of hot dog water, but that's basically what they're doing here. You slurp your hot dog water, Mr. Frodo.
Oh, that's great.
I'm kind of with Smeagol on this one. You know,
I'd like to know how many times we say this is a strange chapter, but it's probably maybe every chapter we say that. I feel like the chapter kind of can't decide what it wants to be. You know, it starts out with some walking, which is, you know, very Lord of the Rings themed, but once they finally like run into Faramir and his merry men, then it becomes sort of like Council of Elrond-y almost.
Yeah, establishing some lore.
Yeah, and they kind of like relitigate like what they're doing and where they're going and who they've been with, you know?
I even caught myself wondering, like, should Frodo be spilling the beans as much as he is to Faramir? He meets Faramir, and within 30 seconds, he's like telling him like who the people in their company were. And like, I mean, they're being detained. Maybe he should be a little bit closer to the vest with some of this information.
I think we're supposed to take from that like Faramir is this ultra trustworthy guy.
He's definitely got an Aragorn / Gandalf kind of like air about him.
Exactly. And so, and you know, we find that he also has received the dream that Boromir had.
Yeah, correct me if I'm wrong. I think he was the first to have it.
Yeah, and they send Boromir because he's Boromir, but I think Faramir was probably the one who was supposed to go. You know.
Yeah.
And I think because of that, I think we're supposed to sort of take from that he's this really almost like blessed.
Mm-hmm.
He's like blessed with a kingly character.
Yeah, almost like saintly.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that Boromir didn't have,
Mm-hmm.
um,
Mm-hmm.
and that Aragorn has, and so like I think that's partly why Frodo just trusts him.
Yeah, yeah. It is. This is an interesting chapter. It's definitely an in betweener, as we've kind of started to like break chapters up into like different categories. I think like how we think of them. They have to get from the Black Gate to the secret stair that they're going to use to enter. It gives a little aside about to kind of just like set the distance that they have to travel. It goes, they were not going quick enough for Gollum. By his reckoning, it was nearly 30 leagues from the Morannon to the crossroads above Osgiliath, and he hoped to cover that distance in 4 journeys. So I did a little Tolkien walking math. So 30 leagues is 90 miles. And if they're going
Yeah,
to do it in 4 days, that means they have to do it in 22 and a half miles per day.
it's a lot.
It's a lot. It's a good clip, but not, once again, not impossible.
No, how many hours could you do that in? I wonder. Would it be 12 hours or 10?
I'd say the longest that I've ever walked in a single day was probably about this distance, and it took me all day long, like sun up, sundown. I guess, like, before we jump back in, I guess the only other theme that I kind of want to kind of like identify is Sam's cheek. Like, he is not afraid of these rangers,
Yeah, it's true. He really stands up to him.
and he kind of doesn't realize that they're under arrest in like a really ironic way that is just comedic gold. He's just like, well, don't wake me up, all right? When you guys leave, like, don't wake me up. I'm really tired. Okay, I've been walking a long time. And they're like,
Okay.
I don't think that Faramir's gonna just like let you go. And he's like, you guys do what you got to do. I'm gonna sit here and relax.
But Sam hasn't really gone through his like character growth arc yet. He's still kind of the same hobbit that left the Shire. But I do love the way, and I think Faramir kind of loves it too. He's like, oh, I like this guy,
Yeah,
He's kind of into it.
he's got some sauce about him.
It's maybe a little bit similar to the way Aragorn kind of ribs the hobbits at
Master
the
Samwise.
yeah, at the Prancing Pony.
It's like, yeah, if with Master Samwise's leave, then I'll tell you this or
Right.
that. Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah, it's definitely got that kind of vibe to it. Though I will say, like, Faramir, I think he is just this like elevated saintly character. He's not tempted by the ring, and this is all coming up next chapter. He's not tempted by the ring. He's not. He has no illusions to his brother being perfect. He kind of sees Boromir for who he is. And he doesn't like, he detains the hobbits, and he does, like, I think really deftly get information out of them, but he doesn't plan on like taking them back to his father at any point, I don't think.
Yeah, he's never tempted, really.
No. He even says, like, if I found this thing on the side of the road unattended, I wouldn't pick it up.
Yeah.
So he's just through and through a good guy. All right, you ready to jump in?
I'm ready.
So they've been at the Black Gate. They see that it's impassable. And Frodo finally makes the decision to trust Gollum to bring them to this secret way into Mordor that up to this point he has not mentioned. And of course, we know that Gollum is leading them into a trap. And I think they suspect as much as well. I don't think that they have any illusion that Gollum is in any way a trustworthy character, but they basically decided they have no other choice, because when they're met with the fact of the Black Gate, they see that it's impassable. There's no way they can get through that way. So they're going to take this risk. Tolkien is always relying on the moon to let us know like what day it is, and says the moon was now 3 nights from the full, but it did not climb over the mountains until nearly midnight, and the early night was very dark. And as we mentioned earlier, he's going to try to make this 90-mile trip in 4 marches.
It's a ton of walking.
Yes.
So it makes sense that they would be tired, but they start to see, as they walk, they're walking through this really like blasted landscape, which is just rocks and rubble, essentially. But then they start to see pine trees and shrubs, and sort of little by little they're walking into a more, I guess, verdant, country.
Yeah, and then the last um I guess it's in the Taming of Smeagol chapter. I'm thinking of that one because I'm editing it right now. Sam mentions that he's been carrying his cookware this whole time, but it doesn't really matter because there's nothing even to start a fire with.
Yeah, there's like not wood. There's not even like
Grass to like light
yeah.
on fire is what he says. There's
There's
like
just
nothing
nothing.
that I could. So like they're entering now into like a more verdant
Right.
area. There's trees and stuff, but it's happening slowly. It's like the way that he's describing the landscape, you can almost like see it filling out the farther and farther they get away from the gate.
Yeah.
It says here and there they saw knots of tall pine trees. The hearts of the hobbits rose again a little in spite of weariness. The air was fresh and fragrant, and it reminded them of the uplands of the North Farthing far away.
Yeah. Just a little bit of like greenery, right, and plant life
Yes.
delivers them some. It gives them some energy.
Yeah, it enlivens them a little bit.
And I also think being close to the gate. I mean, being close to Mordor is bad for you.
Yeah. It's like radioactive, yeah.
Being like looking at that gate saps your hope.
This next sentence, it says, "It seemed good to be reprieved, to walk in a land that had only been for a few years under the dominion of the Dark Lord, and was not yet fallen wholly into decay." It says, "But they did not forget their danger, nor the black gate that was still all too near, hidden though it was behind the gloomy heights." So it's good to remember that this still is like the Dark Lord's land. It's just not like as like fully decrepit as like kind of the rest of Mordor yet, but that will come soon.
Yeah. So they find a hiding place. They still have to kind of. I think they're ultra aware that they could be exposed to the Nazgul.
Mm-hmm.
And they find that place, and it says that Frodo sleeps deeply and peacefully, either trusting Gollum or too tired to trouble about him.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
But I think that shows, Sam is not trusting, and he's maybe not as tired as Frodo either. It just shows how deep a burden the ring is becoming for Frodo. Like he has to get that sleep, and whether Gollum is there or not is kind of beside the point.
This is when he starts to get hungry.
Yeah, right here.
It says, "Hunger, perhaps more than mistrust, kept him wakeful. He had begun to long for a good, homely meal, something hot out of the pot." Did you notice something hot out of the pot is in quotation marks there?
Oh, no, that's interesting. Maybe Sam has been saying that or something. Is that what we're supposed to?
Or it's like something that you would say like at a pub in Hobbiton or something.
Yeah, do you want a roast beef sandwich or something hot out of the pot?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, yeah. I thought it was interesting that it's in quotation marks. I just noticed that. I think it's so that's definitely foreshadowing what's coming. He's about to make this, foolish but fateful decision to make this stew. We mentioned earlier like how dumb it is for Sam to do this. I mean, it's foolish. Smeagol is like beside himself that he would even consider doing something so foolish. Frodo, when he wakes up, he kind of chastises Sam, but he's still really happy for the food. But if he doesn't do it, they don't get found by Faramir. And if they don't get found by Faramir, they don't make it all the way to Mount Doom. So
it works out. I mean, it's one of those things in Lord of the Rings, or maybe in life more broadly, that you kind of make a mistake and it works out,
Yeah. Yeah.
I think it definitely works out in their favor because Faramir is a person you want to meet.
Yes.
Like he's a great person to have met. And, they certainly, I mean, Sam certainly gets his wish of they kind of have a banquet, in the next chapter.
And they get resupplied. They get given food.
Yeah, water.
Water. I mean, they get given like little walking sticks.
Mm-hmm.
But I think the really fateful thing that happens is because Faramir meets them, he's able to inform Gandalf the fact that they were with Gollum, that they were going to this like secret entrance and all these kind of things. And if Gandalf doesn't find out that for sure, then like the kind of the conclusion of the book where he marches on the Black Gate with Aragorn and all those brave men, that doesn't happen.
That makes me wonder if it'd be really interesting to know how many kind of fateful things happen in the in-betweener chapters, as we call them. Everything that happens in Lord of the Rings doesn't happen in the most exciting, like the peak of
No.
the narrative.
Yeah.
Like sometimes the most important thing happens in sort of a by the wayside type of interaction.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I can't say with any confidence that that's always how it goes, but it seems like very often that is the case.
Yeah.
That the really important things in your life happen when you're not exactly like paying the closest attention. The further they get into Ithilien, the more they kind of feel like it even says they kind of feel like they're in the Shire.
This chapter is definitely like whenever people talk about how Tolkien like spends forever describing trees. Oh boy, there's quite a bit of that in this chapter too. I mean, it's beautifully written, but you do kind of have this like can we move this along a little bit kind of feeling.
Yeah, and I hear that, and I think on other readings have felt that way. But I mean, just for instance, like listen to this.
Yeah, go for it.
Here spring was already busy about them. Fronds pierced moss and mold, larches were green-fingered, small flowers were opening in the turf, birds were singing. Ithilien, the garden of Gondor, now desolate, kept still a disheveled dryad loveliness. Come on.
Oh, it's beautiful.
Down the way here, in the next paragraph, it talks about the garden lore of Sam.
Yeah, I mean, this is this is the thing that he knows most about.
Yeah.
Plants.
And so they get, I don't know, they're sort of like returned to themselves in a way because of the, surrounding environment.
Can I just read this one long sentence?
Yeah.
This might be one of the longest sentences in the entire daggum book. This is like a classic Tolkien run-on, but he just like builds so much momentum describing something that is like truly dull.
Yeah.
But it just really works. Okay, let me just read this. Many great trees grew there, planted long ago, falling into untended age amid a riot of careless descendants. And groves and thickets there were of tamarisk and pungent terebinth, of olive and of bay, and there were junipers and myrtles, and thymes that grew in bushes, or with their woody creeping stems mantled in deep tapestries, the hidden stones, sages of many kinds putting forth blue flowers, or red or pale green, and marjorams and new sprouted parsleys, and many herbs of forms and scents beyond the garden lore of Sam.
Yeah.
How many words is that in a single sentence? I mean, that's crazy.
I think it's supposed to be like he's trying to like overwhelm us with the amount of life that's in this place.
But they also mention that, as they're walking along this road, or alongside the road, I guess I should say, at night, and it's been repaired, like presumably by Gondor for a period, but then Mordor, they're using this as a route.
Yeah.
And it says the handiwork of men of old could still be seen in its straight, sure flight and level course. Now again it cut its way through hillside slopes, or leapt over a stream upon a wide, sharply arched or enduring masonry. So amid this careless, riotous, growth in this garden of herbs and of these like medicinal plants, resinous trees, there still is this like master mason work of the Numenorians, these master stone workers who bend the land to their use and their will. So it's like this weird mashup of like ancient, masterful, like domination of nature, and then also the way that nature grows almost like in spite of that.
Yeah, right.
Especially in this like land of like death and desolation. It's this very Tolkienian argument, I think, that like nature in the end will win. And we kind of talked about that with the Ents as well, like how their destruction of Isengard, the way that it's described, is almost like nature moving and fast forward.
Or like a natural disaster, yeah. They also, of course, come across, like more obvious signs of the orcs.
Yes.
It says that they encounter a pit of uncovered filth and refuse. Trees hewn down wantonly and left to die with evil runes, or the fell sign of the eye cut in rude strokes on their bark. It's almost like there's some orc graffiti here that's been cut into the bark of a tree.
Is this one of the only mentions of, kind of getting back to a few episodes ago when we answered Zadie's question about why they never talk about poop in Lord of the Rings? Is this one of the only
refuse?
Is this one of the only mentions of it? A pit of uncovered filth and refuse? I mean, this is probably a like latrine, right?
No, I didn't think about it that way, but that makes a lot of sense to me, that this was a spot where, and they didn't even bury it because they're so, I think like a hobbit would bury it.
Yes.
But an orc just like poops on the side of the road and moves on.
A pit of uncovered filth and refuse.
I thought of it as, I think of refuse as like cast-offs from a meal.
Mm-hmm.
But I think filth is a way that, kind of a polite way that Tolkien would describe
poop.
Yeah. Poo-poo.
Yeah, all this, like, there's all these contrasts, they just came from this land of like blasted desolation, and now they're in this like kind of like unruly, overgrown, place of like growth and life, and the water is safe to drink, and even amid that like safety and like reminder of home, you have these like pits of filth and trees that are cut down wantonly, which is just like the most orcish thing. It's just they're sitting around, they're eating, and what do they do to pass the time? They
cut down a tree for fun. Yeah.
Which is such an evil thing to do.
Yeah.
And I think it kind of calls back to the treatment of trees in Isengard, and the way that that's just a symbol of Sauron's treachery.
Right.
But also, like, I think it calls forward to the scouring of the Shire, like when the party tree is cut down wantonly.
Yeah, it does.
Like the party tree is just laying, when they find the party tree chopped down, it's just laying on the ground, rotting.
Yeah.
Like it wasn't turned into lumber. It wasn't chopped up for firewood. It was just left to die.
Yeah.
And that's just such a symbol of evil. And so even amid this loveliness that reminds them of home, they have these like these little reminders of just what a terrible place they're in. But Sam, he starts thinking about food again. His logistical mind is taking over. It says here, now that the despair of the impassable gate was behind him, he did not feel so inclined as his master to take no thought for their livelihood beyond the end of their errand. And anyway, it seemed wiser to him to save the waybread of the elves for worse times ahead. 6 days or more had passed since he reckoned they had only a bare supply for 3 weeks. So now they only got about 2 weeks of food left. He's thinking to himself, like, all right, if we reach the fire in that time, we'll be lucky at this rate. And we might be wanting to get back. We might. So this, like, his food thought, it's not just because he's hungry. It's not just because he's like kind of minding his P's and Q's. It's really a symbol of hope. Like he won't find himself in a position where he doesn't have the choice but to lay down and die because he doesn't have any food. Like yeah, if they die, that's one thing, but it's not going to be because he didn't prepare.
Right. Yeah, he's hungry to live.
Yeah.
Frodo is under this cloak of despair.
Yeah. He can't see an end where they walk away from this thing.
Yeah, all he can see is the 6 feet in front of him. But Sam still has some capacity to plan and to think what the future might hold.
So as Frodo sleeps and rests, he puts Smeagol to a task. Do you want to read that line? We almost started the podcast with this line because it's so fun. Like, just the way that Sam talks to Gollum is so funny.
Sam says, "Hi, Gollum. Where you going? Hunting? Well, see here, old noser, you don't like our food, and I'd not be sorry for a change myself. Your new motto is always ready to help. Could you find anything fit for a hungry hobbit?"
"Yes, perhaps, yes," said Gollum. "Smeagol always helps if they asks nicely."
"Right," said Sam, "I does ask. And if that isn't nice enough, I begs."
So there's like some... So, I mean, he's nasty to this little guy, right? I mean,
Sam is not friendly to Gollum at all.
But I think you mentioned earlier, and I think it's true, I can't remember which chapter you mentioned this in. They're all starting to bleed together. Sam kind of talks to Gollum in the way that Sam's dad talk to him.
Yeah, that's true.
Like he's got this like kind of like it's almost got like an ironic like kind of affection to it. Just almost.
Yeah, it borders on that, even though it's still pretty mean. I think it's fascinating that we get the most like details about Sam's relationship with his dad in these in these few chapters, and then Sam has this relationship toward somebody kind of who he views as below himself,
Yes.
and he kind of takes that same cast toward Gollum, that same tone, that he had directed at him for how many years.
And he calls him an old noser. He's like, hey, you old noser. Your new motto is always ready to help. It's got this like kind of almost like paternal, like chastising kind of like you. And what does he say is like his dad said that he would always end up not amounting to anything. And,
What a jerk.
yeah, I mean, it's got kind of that type of,
It does.
that type of like tone to it. And even like we mentioned before, like you can tell a lot about the person based on how they talk about or how they address Gollum, whether they call him Gollum or whether they call him Smeagol.
Yeah.
Here he calls him Gollum,
Yes.
Hi, Gollum. But as nasty as he is to Smeagol, he has this moment of tenderness with Frodo. Do you want to read that little bit here?
Sam sends Gollum off on his errand, and Frodo is asleep, and he goes and he looks at Frodo. And then it says here, he was reminded suddenly of Frodo as he had lain asleep in the house of Elrond after his deadly wound. Then, as he had kept watch, Sam had noticed that at times a light seemed to be shining faintly within, but now the light was even clearer and stronger. Frodo's face was peaceful. The marks of fear and care had left it, but it looked old and beautiful, as if the chiseling of the shaping years was now revealed in many fine lines that had before been hidden, though the identity of the face was not changed. Not that Sam Gamgee put it that way to himself. He shook his head, as if finding words useless, and murmured, I love him. He's like that, and sometimes it shines through somehow, but I love him, whether or no. That's some pretty great prose there.
We talked a lot about how the true nature of characters kind of can't help but shine through the visage that they put on. The characters that we've identified it most in are Galadriel, Gandalf, Aragorn.
Yeah, Aragorn for sure.
Frodo is definitely entering into this like new way of being, this like other state. He's becoming elevated in the same way that those like really spiritually powerful characters are. And I think it's partly because he is the ring bearer, but he's always been different. He's always been different from the other hobbits in a lot of ways. Frodo, is it Bilbo and Gandalf that say they think that Frodo is the best hobbit in all of the Shire?
Yes, certainly Bilbo.
I think Gandalf says that to Frodo to comfort him.
Yeah,
like,
that's right.
Almost like quoting Bilbo, like, Bilbo had always said that you were different, that you were the best hobbit in all the Shire. But here, yeah, his true nature kind of like shines through his hobbit visage. So I think he's made for this moment. I think partly it's that he's being elevated just based on the nature of his like quest and the power of the thing that he bears. But
yeah,
I think there's always been something different about Frodo. He's set apart.
That's true. I think it's the time that he spent with Bilbo in some way. Like Bilbo's experience gets passed down to Frodo.
Yes.
And then also maybe Frodo was just made from a different kind of stuff, But I certainly think that gets like honed by just like hanging around with Bilbo all those years, know?
Yeah. Not to mention Gandalf.
Yeah, and Gandalf coming by, to visit and as someone, it also reminds me as someone who lost his parents at an early age, and maybe there's a little Tolkien in there, that it gives you kind of an edge perspective on things, that somebody like Sam might not have, or Merry and Pippin, for that matter. Although they're their own kind of heroic characters in a way too. But yeah, and then for that to shine through, and for someone, I also think it's interesting. Like, it's Sam's love for Frodo that I think helps him see that shine through him.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like it's a way of paying attention that helps you kind of see the, I don't know, divine nature of any person.
Yeah.
And so, like, the fact that paragraph ends with, Tolkien telling us, or the narrator telling us, well, Sam didn't put it that way himself. He just loved him.
Yeah. It's like Sam's not like eloquent enough to articulate
Yeah.
these ideas. It's a sense for him.
But it's his love. Yeah. But it's his love for Frodo that helps him have that sense about Frodo too. I don't think it's just like purely something that's happening inside of Frodo. I think it's like the grace is like between Frodo and Sam in some way. It's like,
Who do you think is writing this?
oh, that's right. Because who is this by? I guess this is Sam. Sam. This is a Sam section, and he's running himself down in this, in the very paragraph.
Gaffers can't get his hook out of Sam's brain. He's like, Sam was too big of a dumbass to be able to think these things. But
I love the idea that Sam at some point in his life could sit down and write that, right?
But he couldn't at that time.
But he couldn't then, and he can't help himself but being a little like self-deprecating, even when he could write a sentence that beautiful, to then like be a little self-deprecating and be like, but of course, like, Sam like Gamgee couldn't write that. So
that's interesting. I mean, I made a little note of that. I'm like, all right, who exactly, like, is it Frodo relating in a more eloquent way these like kind of
what Sam told him,
abstract, descriptions from Sam, or
could be.
Is it Sam now with like the years, like the wisdom that comes with years, being able to articulate it in a way that he couldn't as a younger man? I don't know, but I just think it's interesting. But I think this is also, it's showing Sam has always been like unfailingly loyal to Frodo. But this is when their relationship shifts, I think, from just a master and servant. This is when they begin to have a true connection of love. There's a philos, like a brotherly love between the two of them that extends beyond just a master and a servant.
You mentioned philos, and I think it goes beyond that. It's not just brotherly. It's more intimate than that.
I think it's really beautiful, and I think it's such a shame that like modern times we don't allow men to have this type of like closeness with another person apart from sex.
I agree. I mean, I think Tolkien is expressing something which describes like a masculine love.
Yes.
That isn't, in some ways, it's foreclosed for heterosexual men now.
Sam is sort of shaken out of this admiring trance, this admiration for Frodo, this almost like what's the word I'm looking for? Like when you stand before a saint.
Adoration.
Yeah, adoration. I think that's the word I'm looking for.
What do they do? What do you do with a icon? Veneration.
He's sort of shaken out of that by Gollum throwing these two, conies on the ground. Sam begins to cook these conies. It says, all hobbits, of course, can cook, for they begin to learn the art before their letters, which they may never reach. But Sam was a good cook, even by hobbit reckoning, and he had done a good deal of the camp cooking on their travels when there was a chance. So we learned that he has like all this gear. Tolkien gets into like, the nested pans that he has. He has a wooden spoon. He has a fork. He has some skewers. It's just like, damn, Sam, you carrying all this stuff? This definitely, like, I think is a vote in the direction of Gimli carrying the book of Mizarble.
Yeah, I had the same thought. I think that he definitely kept that thing in his backpack the whole rest of the the whole rest of the quest.
If Sam's able to do this, then but you know, so he sends Gollum off. He's like, "Hey, I got some more work for you to do. You need to like go get some water, like fill these pans with water." And Gollum's like, "What's the what's the point of that? You've already drank, you've already washed."
Yeah, what
And
do you need water for?
he's like, "Don't worry about it. Okay, like just do what you're told." Essentially, he says, "Never you mind. If you can't guess, you'll soon find out. And the sooner you fetch the water, the sooner you'll learn. Don't you damage one of my pans, or I'll carve you for mincemeat." So there's the gaffer coming through Sam's lips yet again. And when Gollum comes back with the water, Sam is making a fire. And Smeagol can't believe it.
Even Smeagol knows it's a bad idea.
Yes.
You know?
Yeah.
I mean, the fact that Sam does this, it's something about Frodo being asleep. Sam sort of like gets ideas that he wouldn't have if Frodo was awake.
If Frodo was awake, he wouldn't let this happen.
No.
But Gollum says, "Not make the nasty red tongues. Fire is dangerous. Yes, it is. It burns, it kills, and it will bring enemies. Yes, it will." And he's right.
Yeah, he is totally right. And he's mad that, he's also mad that Sam is going to stew the rabbits.
Yeah, he says it'll spoil them. He's like, "They're young, they're tender, they're nice. Eat them. And he's like, you don't need to ruin these things by boiling them in water." I mean, I think he's probably basically right. Sam is just like, now each of their own fashion. He's like, your food chokes me and my food chokes you. Okay. So like, don't like, to each his own, essentially. And he's like, and you don't need to watch me. Like, you can just like go away and see if you can find your own food.
Even after this argument, Sam tries to get Gollum to run another errand for him. And reading it this time, I was like, Sam, come on, dude. Like, he's not your errand boy. You know what I mean? Like,
well, that's exactly what he treats him like. Yeah,
but he does. Right. He treats him like that. And he just, it seems so, I don't know. This final task that he gives him was kind of beyond the pale. I was sort of proud of Smeagol for being like, no, like,
Sam is trying to get him to go get this, get these herbs. And this, of course, is like where we get the like famous like potatoes line, which maybe like one of the most quotable Sam lines of the entire book. But he goes, "Third time pays for all. I want some herbs." He's quoting Frodo there.
Oh, he is. From what?
At the Black Gate. In the Black Gate, Frodo says to him, "There's been 2 times now that we were asleep and we were like essentially yours to kill, and you didn't, and you showed yourself to be trustworthy, but a third time pays for all. Like, if you can show us this way." So Sam is like kind of like clumsily here.
Yeah.
Like taking on Frodo's voice.
That's so interesting. I didn't catch that, but it's another instance of like, Sam's lack of imagination. Like naming the Bill the pony after Bill Fernie.
Yeah, Bill.
What's that pony's name? Bill.
Bill. Yeah. What's his dad's name? Also Bill.
Yeah. Bill. Yeah. And so here, Sam just sort of like picks those things up and just regurgitates them.
Smeagol's like, I don't eat those like stinky grasses unless I'm like really, really sick or starving. And Sam is like, "Smeagol will get in real true hot water when this water boils if he don't do as he's asked. Sam will put his head in it. Yes, precious." So he's like saying like, "I'll put your head in boiling water." It's pretty,
you and horrible.
Pretty terrible. He basically threatens to kill him. And Gollum says, "Smeagol won't go. Oh no, precious, not this time. He's frightened and he's very tired." And he goes, "Smeagol won't grub for roots and carrots and taters." "What's taters, precious? What's taters?" And that's where we get potatoes, the gaffer's delight, and a rare good ballast for an empty belly. But you won't find any, so you needn't look. But be good, Smeagol, and fetch me the herbs, and I'll think better of you. What's more, if you turn over a new leaf and keep it turned, I'll cook you some taters one of these days, I will. Fried fish and chips served by S. Gamgee. You couldn't say no to that.
Fish and chips, that sounds great.
Did you note that fish and chips, I mean, that's just kind of like an anachronism, right?
Oh, super, yeah.
I mean, that's
I
like a
mean, like,
modern
if
English food.
potatoes fried in oil, deep fried in oil, like, yeah.
Yeah, that's not around in the Middle Ages.
No, definitely not. One of the great foods, though.
Yes.
Sam's got that right.
So he wakes up Frodo from, it says, another gentle, unrecoverable dream of peace. So I guess this means that it's like such a deep dream that Frodo can't even remember what it is. And we've already kind of established that Frodo's dreams are like a source of like not just rest, but almost like uplifting, like spiritual rejuvenation from the Valar themselves. He was given visions of the future. It's almost like he's being gifted these periods of rest, these like dreamless sleeps as a way of like spiritually rejuvenating him. So he wakes up Frodo and he says, and Frodo says, "Hello, Sam. Not resting? Is anything wrong? What's the time?" So you've mentioned a couple times that they wake up and they say, "What time is it?" Which feels like a very modern, like, but these are people at home. They have clocks in their mantelpieces.
Yeah, and I wonder though, like, I mean, before clocks, did people kind of like reckon what time it was, or did they just think, morning, midday, like morning, mid morning, noon, afternoon, evening?
That's a really good question. I don't know. I mean, I think you'd probably think of it more in terms of relationship to how much daylight is left, much less.
Yeah, I don't think you think about time as a number unless you have a clock on the wall.
Yeah, yeah. That's really interesting. But Sam says, I got what's basically a stew going.
I got some hot dog water here, Mr. Frodo.
I got some hot dog water.
You're gonna love it.
It's not quite what I'd call stew because there's no stock, no onions, no taters. He says, I've got a bit of stew for you and some broth. It'll do you good. You'll have to sup it out with your mug or straight from the pan once it's cooled a little bit. I haven't brought no bowls or nothing proper. So Frodo, he chastises Sam, but not too harshly. I think he's excited about this, like this food as well. He goes, I can smell it from here. Like, what have you stewed? He goes, lighting a fire was dangerous in these parts, but I do feel hungry. So I think he's excited by this. And I think it's interesting that Sam says, a present from Smeagol, a brace of young conies, though I fancy Gollum's regretting them now. But there's not to go with them but a few herbs.
Yeah,
so
refers to
he uses both names here. He's like, Smeagol brought the conies, but Gollum is the one who's regretting it.
Yeah. So Sam goes off to rinse his gear, and when he turns back toward the camp, he sees that there's a thin spiral of blue-gray smoke, and he runs back and stamps out what's left of the fire, but this is the mistake that kind of catches him out.
Yeah, and it's so preventable, and it's like, okay, what exactly were you expecting to happen? You just left the fire unattended.
And why not ask Frodo? Is like Frodo too
sleepy
to like tend the fire? I feel like he could.
And I think it's one of those things where it's like, if you have like and he has said that he's kind of taken preparation to only use really dry wood, and he's not going to get anything that's going to smolder, but you kind of can't see the smoke that a fire makes until
you walk away from it. Yeah.
You walk away from it. And so Frodo's probably sitting there thinking everything's fine, but it's only when he has a little bit of distance, he looks back and he realizes like, oh, like this fire is smoking, and he starts to curse himself right away. He hears a whistle, which, he doesn't think comes from a bird. And he's like, if it was a whistle, it didn't come from Frodo's direction. There it went again from another place. So he hears this like kind of call system back and forth. And he says, now, if I've gone and brought trouble, I'll never forgive myself, nor won't have a chance, maybe. And Frodo says, hush, I hear voices. So this is where we're first introduced to these rangers, these like Gondorian rangers who are, of course, we learn, captained by Faramir. And they come up kind of right away, and they're like, here's where the smoke came from. 'Twill be nigh at hand, in the fern, no doubt. We shall have it like a coney in a trap, and then we will learn what kind of thing it is. So they've seen Gollum, is what they've seen.
Yeah.
But then they see the smoke rising, and they go and they go to find it. And Sam Frodo, they realize that, there's no escaping these guys. And so they just get back to back and pull out their swords and stand ready to fight.
I love that they pull out their swords, like
Yeah, what good is that going to do?
I mean, I know that they had their little moments in Moria, but it's just like these guys are not going to fight off anything, much bigger than a rabbit. So
No. You've mentioned the Greek chorus before.
yeah,
I put a little note next to this that this kind of reminds me a little bit like a stage play. It's like you have someone coming off the curtained area onto the stage. They're like, we're gonna sure find him now. It's got that kind of like sense of like almost like being read from a stage, almost Shakespearean.
It does.
But they find him there back to back with their swords out, and they start to question like, okay, what exactly have we found here? These aren't orcs. Someone's like, could they be elves? And one of them says, no, not elves. Elves do not walk in Ithilien these days, and elves are wondrous fair to look upon, or so it's said. So these guys haven't seen elves before in their lives. But Sam's response is so funny.
Yeah, Sam takes offense and says, meaning we're not, I take you. Thank you kindly. And when you finish discussing us, perhaps you'll say who you are and why you can't let two tired travelers rest.
He's almost got like a Gollum kind of indignance there, doesn't he?
Yeah, he does.
It's like, oh, won't you just let two travelers rest? It's like, yeah, okay. Like clearly you guys aren't supposed to be here, so don't play the victim. All right. But the tall man is revealed to be Faramir, captain of Gondor. And he says, but there are no travelers in this land, only the servants of the Dark Tower or the White. And Frodo says, we're neither. We're travelers, whatever Captain Faramir may say. We're just traveling through. And Faramir's like, all right, then declare yourself in your errand. We have work to do, and there's no time or place for riddling or parleying. Come, where's the third of your company? And Frodo tries to play dumb and say, like, third? Like, what?
Who?
And he goes, the skulking fellow that we saw with his nose in a pool down yonder. He had an ill-favored look. Some spying breed of orc, I guess, or a creature of theirs. But he gave us the slip by some fox trick.
So Frodo describes Gollum as a wretched gangrel creature. And a gangrel is a vagabond or a drifter, a vagrant. Could also be like a tall, awkward fellow, like I think of like the word gangly.
Yeah, it's like a gangly guy. So yeah, it's got like a sense of like skinny or like starved.
Yeah.
Yeah. And he tries to say like, oh, he is just, a chance companion upon the road. Like, no big deal. But this is where I meant he kind of just like spills the beans here. He goes, we are hobbits of the Shire far to the north and west beyond many rivers. Frodo, son of Drogo, is my name, and with me is Samwise, son of Hamfast, a worthy hobbit in my service. We have come by long ways out of Rivendell, or Imladris, as some call it. 7 companions we had, 1 lost at Moria, the others we left at Parthgalen above Rauros. 2 of my kin, a dwarf there was also, and an elf, and 2 men. There were Aragorn and Boromir, who said he had come out of Minas Tirith, a city in the south. What is he doing?
I think it's because it shows his trust for Boromir.
That's got to be it. That's got to be it.
Like, because even though Boromir acted so shabbily at the end of the Fellowship of the Ring, he still is a person of character from a people of character, right?
He's a noble person from a noble
exactly
people.
And so
yes.
Frodo reads that on Boromir, and when he sees other Gondorians, he just straight up trusts them. And it's odd because I think Boromir is so, even though we talked about liking him in some ways, there's so many things about him that are kind of off-putting. But Frodo doesn't feel that way about him.
Yeah.
And
no, I think you're right. I think there's something about Faramir that engenders trust out of the gate. But I mean, it just seems like so hasty to me.
It is hasty. Yeah.
And he even he quotes the riddle that Boromir brings to the Council of Elrond. He goes like, are you familiar with seek for the sword that was broken in Imladris it dwells? I mean, so this is the riddle that Faramir himself heard in his dream first.
Right.
So he's like kind of like quoting his own riddle back at him as this like kind of like this like sign of trust. Faramir is just like gobsmacked by this. I mean, first of all, he's just like, Boromir. I mean, that's our captain, So you're speaking of someone that we've long missed. Faramir like kind of can't help himself. He's like, okay, so are you guys the halflings that the riddle spoke of? And also like, what's Isildur's bane?
He's like, can you help me? Can you help me
Yeah.
unlock this riddle, because it's been bothering me too.
And Frodo's like, that is hidden. Doubtless it will be made clear in time. It's like, bro, all of this should be hidden. Gandalf told you not to tell people in Bree.
Yeah, that's right. And now you're telling people like on the gates of Mordor, basically, right? Like,
yeah, like you just met these guys. Like, so I don't know. It seems a little out of character.
It's odd.
But I think like Frodo is being given now, because he's the ring bearer, he has this insight into people's true nature.
Oh, that's interesting. Yeah. Yeah.
In the same way that he's able to see Galadriel's ring and know who she is, the same way that Galadriel is able to like read people's minds, Frodo is starting to be able to be given that gift. And so I think that's probably what's going on here, is he sees Faramir as a person that he can trust. But Faramir is like, basically like, hey, the sun is rising, battle is at hand. We got to get going. But he goes, I'm going to leave 2 people to guard you. Guard you. That's like a,
yeah.
that's one way to put it. Yeah, that's one way to put it. Damrod he's his guard, but he's also his like captor.
Right.
He goes, wise man trusts not to chance meeting on the road in this land. If I return, I will speak more with you. So he's about to say, he's like, I might die in a couple minutes, but I'm about to go fight some big old elephants in the forest.
Right.
But if I live, I'll come back and we'll talk. And Frodo bows low and says farewell. Think what you will. I am a friend of all enemies of the one enemy. And he says like essentially like, hey, if we were going to be any use in a fight, we'd come too. But like, let's be honest.
Yeah.
We're not that great at fighting.
No.
And he says, may the light shine on your swords. So sweet. So the hobbits now, they just like kind of like chill a little bit with the 2 people that are charged to guard them. Did you notice that the word forayers is used here? It says, from such men the Lord Denethor chose his forayers who crossed the Anduin secretly. I looked it up. Forayers means like explorers, which could be another, way of saying a ranger.
Yeah.
These are people who range. So we got Damrod and we got Mablung. They kind of fill them in on like what exactly their errand is. It says, we come to ambush the men of Harad, curse them. So these are Southrons that are coming to join the hosts of Mordor. And Damrod says, I doubt not that the days of Gondor are numbered, and the walls of Minas Tirith are doomed. So great is his, with a capital H, strength and malice.
They give some voice to a similar spirit that Boromir has, that even though
absolutely, that's
even though the fight is doomed, it's still worthwhile,
But also, there's this like almost like sense of responsibility. It's like, yeah, everything's going to crap, and who is the ones who are holding the tide back? It's Gondor.
Yeah.
All right. Everyone else is like way far away, hiding in their caves and hiding in their mountains and hiding in their forests. Like, we're the ones who are keeping them from crossing this river. So there's kind of like this, like, almost like resentment in their voices.
And I love this line at the end where they say, the road may pass us, but they shall not, meaning the Southrons. Not while Faramir's captain. He leads now in all perilous ventures, but his life is charmed, or fate spares him for some other end.
So there's about to be a battle, and in true Tolkien fashion, it happens like completely off screen.
Yeah.
The hobbits hear it, and of course we're like about to see the Oliphant that Sam like so desperately wants to see, but for the moment, Sam is just kind of like, he's just chilling. He doesn't seem to be too worried about this. He's like, I wonder where that dratted Gollum is. He stands a fair chance of being spitted for an orc or being roasted by the Yellowface, but I fancy he'll look after himself. He lay down beside Frodo and began to doze.
Sam wakes up thinking that he'd heard horns blowing, and they hear cries and shouting, faint faintly. Then they hear fighting breaking out nearer at hand. They're screaming and yelling, and then people are calling Gondor, Gondor.
It says the ringing grate of steel on steel and the clang of sword on iron cap, the dull beat of blade on shield. And Sam says it sounds like 100 blacksmiths all smithying together. And he goes, "They're as near as I want them now." Yeah, so they don't want to be anywhere near this. So Sam, well, I say that, but I mean he actually like kind of sneaks away and kind of like looks at the battle from a distance.
Yeah, he kind of wants to see what's going on. And he catches what says a glimpse of swarthy men in red running down the slope some way off with green-clad warriors leaping after them. And we've seen these men in red armor before. I think outside the gates of Mordor.
Yes. And it says, then suddenly, straight over the rim of their sheltering bank, a man fell, crashing through the slender trees, nearly on top of them. He came to rest in the fern a few feet away, face down, green arrow feathers sticking from his neck below a golden collar. His scarlet robes were tattered. His corselet of overlapping brazen plates was rent and hewn. His black plaits of hair, braided with gold, were drenched with blood. His brown hands still clutched the hilt of a broken sword. So this is where we get this famous moment where Sam looks at this fallen soldier who, is a servant of Mordor. And he wonders if the man is truly evil at heart, or if he's just acting on behalf of orders that, are beyond his understanding. And he wonders if this person would rather be at home in peace, just like Sam would.
And there's a difference here. Sam has been in action before, but it's always been
orcs.
Yeah, his people he's with against orcs. And here it says that it was Sam's first battle of man against man.
Yeah.
And he did not like it much. I think that underlines something we talked about before, which is that the orcs are basically a disposable. We talked about them like ants.
They're like ants. Yeah. Or like a swarm of bees or something.
And this is very different.
Yes.
For Sam.
Yes.
And he immediately wonders, who is this man? What was his name? Where did he come from? And I think he finds, I think his question reveals that he finds that he probably wasn't evil at heart. Right? He's there, caught up in machinery so much bigger than him, which is true of Sam and Frodo.
Yeah.
And wouldn't he have rather, stayed at home in peace? And it made me think that, earlier in the chapter, as Sam is thinking about food and getting, Gollum to go off on his errand, he says that he feels even more hungry than usual. A supper or breakfast by the fire in the old kitchen at Bagshot Row was what he really wanted.
Yeah.
So Sam wanted to be at home, and this guy probably wanted to be at home too. He didn't want to march to Mordor to serve the Dark Lord.
No.
Right? Like,
that's a great comparison. No, I think you're so right. I think it's interesting that all of this happens like in a flash. It says all in a flash of thought, which was quickly driven from his mind. So like all these reflections on who this person is and what's his name and what drove him to be to this place, and wouldn't he rather be at home in peace just like me? All of it happens instantly. And so it's kind of similar to like how like this reflection on Frodo, where the narrator says, of course, like Sam's mind wasn't able to articulate these things at the time. All he thought was, I love him. It's kind of a similar narrative focus here where it's like, of course, he wasn't able to articulate these things now. So I can almost imagine Sam as an old man working on this manuscript. And it's almost like these thoughts come as like the benefit of time and age.
Yeah.
As he's looking back on his time. It's like impossible not to see Tolkien's own experience as a soldier coming through. I think it's, the tendency is good not to try and read too much of Tolkien's biography into his work, but this is one of those where I think it's impossible. We have to say this is someone who's seen, the body of another soldier and wondered these thoughts.
Yep. But his thoughts are interrupted by.
Yeah, his thoughts were interrupted before by a brace of conies.
Now it's war elephants.
Now it's Mumak. They're not elephants. They're bigger than elephants. It says the Mumak of Harad was indeed a beast of vast bulk, and the like of him does not walk now in Middle Earth. His kin that live still in latter days are but memories of his girth and majesty. So yeah, big tusks dripping with blood. These are like bigger than any like actual mammal could possibly be on Earth. I wonder what they're based on. Is there like some other like gigantic war elephant in literature that I'm not aware of?
I mean, the only like war elephants that I can think of that Tolkien might have had in mind is the Carthaginian elephants.
Yeah.
And I think that making them as large as they are kind of like gives them a mythic quality.
Totally.
That they wouldn't have or that they wouldn't have otherwise.
Totally.
But there's almost like a house on the back of these things, you know?
Yeah, it says, on the great beast thundered, blundering in blind wrath through pool and thicket. Arrows skipped and snapped harmlessly out of the triple height of his flanks. Men on both sides fled before him, but many he overtook and crushed on the ground. Soon he was lost to view, still trumpeting and stamping far away. What became of him Sam never heard. Whether he escaped to roam in the wild for a time until he perished far from his home, or was trapped in some deep pit, or whether he raged on until he plunged in the great river and was swallowed up. I think that's a little bit more evidence that Sam is the author of this chapter as well.
I think so too.
Like Sam never heard what happened to him. You know, it's like, yes, because Sam is writing this story. That's why we don't know either.
Yep. I love that Sam says, you know, he exclaimed, oh, it was an elephant. So there are elephants. It wasn't just a story. But then he says, what a life. No one at home will ever believe me. Well, if that's over, I'll have a bit of sleep.
Mablung says, sleep while you may, but the captain will return if he is unhurt. And when he comes, we shall depart swiftly. We shall be pursued as soon as news of our deed reaches the enemy, and that will not be long. And Sam says, go quietly when you must. No need to disturb my sleep. I was walking all night. And Mablung laughs and says, I do not think the captain will leave you here, Master Samwise, but you shall see. Yeah, he's like, hey, if you got to go ahead and go. Just let me sleep. See yourself on the way out. It's been a pleasure meeting you, Mablung. Thanks for all the update on the war effort coming out of Gondor. Me and my master will just be we'll be on our way soon. No need to wake us on your way out.
Yeah, he totally misreads the situation completely. All right, you want to take us out, Zach?
Thank you for listening to the Wayward Wizards radio program. Next week we'll be reading Book 4, Chapter 5, The Window on the West. If you like the podcast, one of the best things you can do to support us is to follow us on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, wherever you get your podcast. Leave us a rating, and don't just leave us a rating. Go in there and write something in the reviews. If you leave a review with actual words and sentences, that helps people find us. If you want to reach out to us, you can email us at info@waywardwizards.com or go to waywardwizards.com for more info.
And until next time, may fate spare you for some other end.
We'll see you next week.
Bye.